Okay, we are alive. How's it going, everybody? Let's move my chat box to this side. How's it going, guys? Mike here. Thank you all so much for joining today's live stream. My computer is to my right side, so if you see me looking this way, it's because I'm looking in the chat box. Okay, so guys, as you know, normally with the live stream, what I encourage you to do is just ask your questions. I'm gonna be talking a lot, but at some point I'm gonna look in the chat box and I'm gonna try as much as possible to answer every question that is in there. But anyway, I hope everybody is safe. Since the last live video we did, today's video is number 17. And I think I did one a few weeks ago. So since the last time we spoke, we've basically went into full gear quarantine mode. As a matter of fact, yesterday will mark 30 days that I've been locked inside. And it's a little weird. I haven't choked anybody yet. My wife hasn't choked me yet, so we're good. And I hope everybody else out there is doing good. But anyway, I want to use this today's video as an opportunity to answer some of the questions that have come in. And guys, if you need to ask me questions, a lot of times you can email me, or you can email me at mike@mojogrip.net or management@mojogrip.net. But for the most part, a lot of questions come through Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you subscribe to MojoGrip on Instagram and you can send me a message there. So I have some of those questions here, which I will get to. Just let me pull them up. Okay, I have those questions here, but also I have questions just over time. And I do also want to say that if you sent me an email and you didn't get a response, please don't take it personal. I get a lot of emails and I try my best to answer or go through as many as possible. But if you did send me an email and I didn't respond, right now is the best time to just ask or talk to me. And guys, please say hi in the chat box. Let me know where you're streaming from so I can give you a shout out. And I'll look in the chat box right now just to see who's on. Noah is the first person on here. Shout out to Noah. Thank you for joining in. Rob, thanks for joining in. Stefan, Brian. Oh man, I need to get closer to this thing. Nigel, Matthew from Chicago, appreciate you joining in. Who else is on here? Ben from South Africa, thank you for tuning in. So anyway, let's get started first with the airplane build. As I said, I feel like the coronavirus is just kept in sideways. In short, the airplane build for the most part right now has been put on hold, partly because the people at the factory also, they have to adhere to the shelter law. So everyone can't just go to work, and aviation is not really considered as essential, more particularly general aviation, perhaps the airlines maybe, but flight schools and airplane stuff like airplane building is not considered essential. So people are quarantined. I did speak to TAF at the airplane factory recently, and it seems like they're slowly getting the groove back and getting everyone back to work. But we also have to take precautions and be safe. But one of the first questions that I wanted to address, or more of a confusion. So for those of you who are new to the channel, again, my name is Mike. I appreciate you tuning into MojoGrip. A couple of months ago, sometime last year, I started on a journey to build an airplane, a Sling TSI to be more specific. And with the process, I'm going through what's called the Build Assist program. And I've uploaded several videos to document, because that was always the plan, to document and take this journey together with everybody. So I've been documenting the build. And I do want to say that one of the benefits that I've seen in doing this is I get a lot of feedback from all of you. As you know, like this is the first time I'm doing this, so a lot of mistakes will be made, or some have been made already. So some of the videos, like I would read the comments and I see somebody may say, oh, this wiring thing you did is supposed to be facing this way or that way. And this, again, me not knowing ahead of time, I would go back to the factory and be like, hey, did we do this right? Did we do this? So in a way, we're learning from each other. And I do appreciate that. Constructive criticism, I would say. But if you're a complete asshole about the comments, I would still probably read the comment, but I would still try to correct whatever mistake was made. So that's one of the good things about documenting the process for the public to see. In a way, I'm vulnerable to whatever opinions are out there. But one of the questions that have been posted multiple times is when I post a new update, for example, I would see comments or opinions where it would read something like this: well, he's not building anything, they're building the entire plane for him. Or I've gotten questions like, when is the plane going to be finished? What part specifically are you building? So to answer that, and also just to correct some of the confusion, when you go through a build assist program, legally or by law, the FAA says that as the builder, you have to complete 51% of the build. Okay. So now the question is, what counts as 51%? Because an airplane is made up of many different parts. Okay, so you've got the empennage, the fuselage, the firewall, the wheels, and so on and so forth. So you have quite a bit of stuff that has to come together to make a complete airplane. So then how do you grade 51%? Is it that the builder builds like half of the plane and then you see it that half of the plane is complete? Well, to answer that question, there's a point system. Okay, so if you're not familiar with this, so that's the way the FAA grades or counts your 51%, so to speak. And guys, like I said, I'm reading the chat box and I'll answer some of the questions later. And please let me know also if you can hear me and see me clearly. So back to the rules. So you're expected to complete 51% of the build. But how do you grade 51%? Well, there's a point system, and every airplane kit has this, including the Sling TSI. If you were building a Vans RV, for example, or you're building a Sabre Wing or a Super Stol or Kit Fox, every single manufacturer, particularly particular airplane model, has a point system. And this is also public. Like, you can go on the FAA website. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave a link in the description once this live stream is done. So there's a point system, and that's how you're graded. And so I'll give an example. Hey, Jerome, thank you for tuning in. So I'll give an example with the point system. So if you have been following the build from the very start, you see that the very first, or one of the first videos that we did was we built the tail end of the airplane, which was the vertical stabilizer. And the vertical stabilizer is like, it's basically one part. So this is my phone here. So let's assume this was just this one part, and it took about 8 to 10 hours just building that one thing. And it was a bunch of, you had to drill holes, you know, punch rivets in and things like that. So just building that one single part of the airplane could be considered, say, 2 points, right? So you get 2 points for working 8 to 10 hours on one item. And then you could take on another part of the airplane. Say you installed the GMU, or you put the skin on the front part of the airplane, or you just screwed in the fuselage. My point is, let's say you take on something else and you only spent 45 minutes installing that other part, and that other part will give you 5 points. So in a way, it's like, it's not a fair or a straight line balanced point system. It all counts based on particular items or particular parts of the airplane. And so that's how you're graded. And at the end, when everything is complete, then you mark a sheet like, okay, this is what I did, this is what I did. And what typically happens, because I assume that, a lot of the people leaving these comments have either never built an airplane before or have never gone through this process before. And so I'm answering this to sort of educate all of us on what the process is like. So if you go through this point system, what typically happens is that your whatever build facility that you're working with, they know what's what. So they would have you come in and do the most important parts, or the parts that are crucial, or the parts that get to you the most points. And that's how the points add up to 51%, and then you've done your part. And when you think about it, a build assist, it was invented so people who have busy lives or can't fully commit to building an entire airplane, or more particularly someone in my case, which was I didn't want to spend 3 years building this plane. I wanted to be able to do it within 1 year, which we're gonna talk about later. And that's my main goal going through the build assist program. So once you come in, you do your part of the of the point system, you can go on your way again. The airplane will continue to get built, and then you come in again, you do the part that you're supposed to do, and then you go on your way. That's typically how it goes. And if you've watched the videos from day one, you'd see that pretty much every single part of the airplane that's been built so far I've had some hands on it. So say for example, we started with the tail, I was there for that. We did the fuselage, I was there for that. So whenever I put an update up and you see like, oh man, it looks like a lot of work has been done. Yeah, I didn't do all of the work, but I completed my part of the work that needed to be done. So I wanted to explain that for people who have asked the questions or who have stated their opinion about what they think is going on. I think the most recent comment I read was, oh man, the FAA needs to look into this and see if this guy is following the 51% rule. But that's how it works. That's how a build assist program works. You go in, you complete the parts you're supposed to complete, and then you come back until the plane is done. Now, speaking of the last video I did upload, so far, or the last time I was in California building, the tail end is already completed. The main fuselage is already completed. What needs to be done now, there's still quite a bit of work. So we need to build the wings, mount the engine, test the engine, and then paint. So that's actually one of the stuff I was excited for, but right now things are being put on hold, like I said. And I'm gonna pause and read some of the comments here, and then we'll get back in a little bit. Hey Noah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Let's see. And guys, also, I assume there's some pilots watching this and some builders. So if you can please get in the chat box and help me answer some of these questions, I would greatly appreciate that. Hey, Rob from Denver, appreciate you tuning in. Abdullah says 30 days a lot. You're damn right. It's a lot. That's the thing, I've never actually been in the house for that long before. Usually with what I do with YouTube, I'm usually out of town multiple times in a month. So 30 days is a lot to just be inside. Let's see. Hey Anthony, if you send me the links to the GoFundMe, I can give it a shout out. Devlin, once your Sling is complete, would you consider a world trip flight? So I've thought about it. I don't know honestly, and it would be a decision if I ever do like a world trip. It would be a decision. Obviously, I have to talk to my wife about it and see if it's a if it's something that's doable. Show 164 from Hartford, Wisconsin. Appreciate you tuning in. And guys, this is my mic. I have to hold it, and I'm hoping you can hear me through it. All right, I don't see many questions. Actually, there's a few here. I'm just gonna try to read as fast as possible. Ego says, "Love your videos, but always watch them at 1.5 speed minimum." How do you feel? How do I? So I've seen in comments section of people saying put the videos to 1.5 speed. So here's my explanation to that, and he's probably speaking more particularly some of the early videos. So some of the early list videos that I made, I'm talking a lot slower. And part of it is I'm trying to be as fluent as possible without speaking too fast. And also, there's been comments again relating to the list videos about. I just lost my train of thought. There's been comments about skipping out on certain airplane models. So, and guys, if you notice, because I've been home. So one of the downside of not being able to travel is that a lot of the appointments and some airplanes that I wanted to review for you guys, I haven't been able to. So I've just been locked in a lot in making the list videos because they get requested, and I'll be honest, they're not my favorite videos to make, even though they get requested and they get a lot of views. They're not my favorite videos to make, one, because there's a copyright issue. So if you recall, some of you who have been following the channel for a long time, early on I would make these videos, but it got to a point where I actually had another channel report two of my videos and said that I used like two short 10-second clip from there. And usually when I use a video from another channel or online, I always put the source on the video so you know what the video is from. But sometimes that's just not enough. So with these videos, if it's not a video that I created to begin with, meaning if I haven't covered the airplane, then chances are I'm not going to put it on the list. So say, for example, the recent video I did with the bush planes, you would notice that the only clip that I don't own on that video is the one from Kit Fox. And I saw some comments of people listing some of the airplanes that should have been on the list. And it's not that I'm oblivious to the fact that those airplanes exist. It's just I haven't covered them yet. So I don't want to use other people's videos. I want to use as less as possible of somebody else's video for me to do this list video. So I want you to keep that in mind. So these are all the things that goes into me creating the list videos. I have to reach out to people if I'm going to use their clip to get permission to do so. And, you know, if I haven't covered the plane already, then it's more safer for me to only use airplanes that I've covered on the channel. So that's something I thought you should know. All right, so Ego, I hope, or Ego, sorry if I butcher your name, but I hope that answers the question. Hey, Cynical Geek, appreciate you tuning in from Mississippi. Andres from Argentina, thank you so much for watching. Jason from Maryland, appreciate you, man. Kevin from Seattle, thank you so much for watching. Guys, I'm so grateful, honestly, that you guys are tuning in, because I know some of you may be stuck home like me and you could be doing something else. So thank you, guys. So I don't see any more question. Hamad from Silicon Valley, appreciate you, man. If I don't call out your name, I'm trying to read this as fast as possible, so forgive me. Show 164, any unexpected expenses on top of the building costs. So if I think, like there's been nothing like completely out of the blue yet, so thank God for that. But I would say some of the costs that I didn't anticipate to begin with. So for example, some, and a lot of it has to do with things that I wanted, not necessarily things that had to do with the kit itself. So excuse me, I wanted some customization stuff done to the airplane, and those will come with extra costs, as you can imagine. But also priming. So as a matter of fact, that's another question. Priming the airplane, and I'll answer that question now. So some of the questions or comments on the videos are, "Oh, this airplane is already, you know, to this level, but you haven't primed the parts yet." So when you're building an airplane, depending on the material that you use, so the Sling TSI, for example, it's aluminum, and it's a high grade aluminum that would not rust very easily. But normal process is you prime the parts, you try to protect it from corrosion, because that's something, if it builds up, can really be fatal in some cases. But what we're doing with my Sling TSI is we're gonna finish building the airframe first, and then we're gonna spray it down with an anti-corrosion solution. Corrosion X, to be more particular, I think is the solution that we're going to use. So for those of you who have been asking about the priming, that's what we're going to do. So right now, I believe that most of the airframe is already complete. We're gonna paint it first. So the paint has to go on, or at least the base paint goes on first, and then we'll spray it down, and then we'll apply, whatever other paint or decal. But most of the spraying down is on the inside of the airplane. So all the creases, all the little holes and parts. And the beautiful thing about a solution like Corrosion X is it sips into like really tight space that you wouldn't be able to get into to begin with. So the chemical of that solution it kind of just flows through the entire body frame or the airframe of the airplane, and so it protects it from any type of corrosion. So I would say that's one of the additional costs that I didn't really anticipate, but also it's going to be an additional cost in maintenance. So when you apply an anti-corrosion solution, it's best to maintain it maybe every year or every 2 years, so that way at least you're keeping everything up to date. So that's something I didn't really think about to begin with. All right, so I'm gonna get back to the notes, and then I'll answer more questions later. So, like I said, moving forward, what's left right now is the wings of the airplane needs to be constructed and put together. We need to get the engine going, have it tested, and stuff like that. The avionics. So actually one of the videos I did recently, I did a series of videos. I was in Michigan at Midwest Panel Building, and shout out to them. They're the ones that are building the panel for the airplane, and really I'm outsourcing this to them because they're the expert in this. And that's another thing, when you're building an airplane, you don't necessarily have to do everything, especially if you're not as knowledgeable about certain things. And these guys, that's all they do, putting panels together, the wire harnesses and the avionics. So that part still needs to be completed. I'm trying to think. There is the parachute. I really want to be there to have that on video when we install the parachute system. So that needs to be. So there's still quite a bit of work. Now, for those of you who have been asking, because one of the questions I have here is, when is the airplane going to be finished? So the plan was to have it done, and by done I mean flying, by July. So the goal was to fly to Oshkosh and hopefully be able to meet some of you, and especially, honestly, everyone who's donated to the Build Assist GoFundMe. So grateful, and I really would love to meet you if you do come to the show. If you want to ride in the airplane, I would love to have you in the plane and see just what you helped build. So that's always been the goal. Now, given the COVID-19 pandemic, I don't know for sure if we're going to make that time. I think we're still good on schedule, but more importantly is I don't know if Oshkosh is going to happen. As of yesterday, I know that nothing has been said in terms of canceling or postponing the event, but fingers crossed. So we'll see. So I'll answer more questions in the chat box. As a matter of fact, let's see. And also, guys, I've gotten a lot of questions about flight training, and I'll answer some of those as well while I'm still reading some of these. And just to speak a little bit on flight training part, some of the early videos that I used to make on the channel, I try to make some informative videos on flight training, the process, some of the things to expect. I even did a video on reasons why you should become a pilot, things like that. But I refrained from doing those videos, one, because I'm not a certified flight instructor. So, and I didn't want to put information out there that, some may differ with an opinion or say, oh, you shouldn't be talking about these things because you're not certified. Now, that said, I do plan on I want to start making those videos again, and I will start because I get a lot of questions, and I prefer if I just make a video and answer to anyone who, wants those questions answered. What I'll just do is put a disclaimer, in the beginning of the video that whatever I say in this video, take it with a grain of salt. Make sure you fact check everything. But I will, on this live stream, try to answer a few that I've gotten. Okay, so more questions here. Also, guys, when you ask questions, whether here or in the future, please try and be as specific as possible. So, because one of the questions I'm reading here, is it Tylik? I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Tylik wants to buy a plane and don't know which one he wants to buy. Now, when you ask a general question like that, it's hard for me to even recommend anything because I don't know much about your mission. I don't know much about your flight hours, whether you're a pilot or you're planning to get a pilot's license. So I need you to be a little bit more specific so I can better understand the question and answer it. AK says, AK in SWFL. Mike, I hear great things about the Diamond. Why did you choose a new experimental versus this Diamond? Listen, you're actually reading my mind because one of the videos that I plan to put out in nearest future is the Diamond Star versus a Sling TSI. So for those of you who are not familiar, Diamond Star, more particularly the DA-40. This is the airplane that I trained in and I got my pilot's license a few years ago. The DA-40, I would say, was my first love when it comes to aviation. It was the very first airplane that I got to fly. And when I was a student, I always imagined that I would buy this airplane at some point. Now, the reason why I didn't buy a DA-40 and I went towards the experimental is because when I look at the TSI and, compared to a DA-40, they're in different categories, obviously. One is certified, one is experimental. But I feel like you get a little bit more for the money with the TSI in performance and range. In just about every category of performance. And not to say that the DA-40 is not a great performing airplane. It's a great cross-country flyer, But I would say for for example, if you build a TSI for X amount of dollars, the same price for a brand new TSI, you would only be able to afford a used Diamond DA40. A brand new DA40 will cost you at least $400,000. So, and I remember the flight school that I trained in, it was all used DA40s. And on some days, I couldn't even get 500 foot per minute when it's really hot. So I imagine in a Sling TSI, any day of the week, I'll be able to get 1,000 foot a minute. So that's one of the comparisons. Also, when you think of the fuel consumption, DA40 burns on average 10 gallons an hour. The Sling TSI, even at crazy speed, you're traveling maybe 130, 140, 150 knots true. You're burning 7 to 8 gallons of fuel per hour. So there is that. What else can I? The Sling, I can have a parachute. DA40, I can't. I would say in flying, now that I've gotten some experience flying both airplanes, the DA40 is a little bit more heavier. The Sling, if you fly any Sling, whether the 2, the 4, the TSI, they're very light, and it's like a sports car in a way. And so, and comparing that to a DA40 that's heavier to me on the hand, that's not saying a bad thing. In some cases, actually, I like the stick to be a bit heavier, the nose to be heavier on me, because it makes me feel like the aircraft is a bit more balanced. So like with the Sling TSI, for example, you point that nose, it goes. Whereas with the heavier plane, you have to do some additional work. So there's a lot I can point on in comparing these two, but I would say one of the best things about a Diamond DA40, this is one of the safest single engine airplanes out there. Like, it's hard to spin this thing, it's hard to stall it. I remember, doing slow flights during my training, and I was shocked that we were still flying, and I was able to do turns going 60 miles per hour in a DA40. So you have that. It's a very safe airplane, and almost never do you hear of a DA40 catching fire. If it was a crash landing or whatever the case may be, the firewall in that plane is so good that it protects the occupants of the plane. So it does have a lot of great benefits. It's a great trainer. It's a great cross-country flyer. But I ultimately went experimental because I just get more. You get more for the money. So that's the deal there. Daniel, do you think the Sling TSI high wing will cost more than the TSI? The honest answer is I don't know, but I don't think so. At least having spoken to TAF about it, they've been adamant about the fact that it's going to be around the same price range. Now, obviously, it's going to be an experimental plane, so each builder would depend on what each builder has in the airplane. So the cost can go up or down. But in terms of the kit and the average cost to complete the airplane, I think it will be just about the same or maybe even less than the TSI. But don't quote me on that. Well, let's wait for the plane to be released first, and then we'll see what it costs. Boom, boom. Guys, there's quite a bit of questions here. How did I get involved in aviation? I lost that question. I'll answer that question towards the end because it's a bit of a story, but I've always been fascinated with airplanes. That's the short answer to it. So I want to go through the list and finish first, and then I'll focus more on the chat box. So I've talked about what's left of the plane, and so the plans moving forward with the build is right now I should be in LA. And that's really what sucks about this process. It's I literally planned my life this year, my life and my family's life around building this plane and finishing it this year. And obviously plans have changed. But right now, I should be in LA. The plan for the month of April was to spend the entire month there and just be hands on building, making videos, and sharing it with you guys. But that's not happening. I call people in LA almost every day. And even this morning, I spoke to one of my bros there, and I was trying to gauge, like, what's the atmosphere like. And he's telling me that for the most part, everyone is still quarantined. Nothing, the shelter laws are still in place. So, because I was trying to convince my wife, like, I need to go, even because to me, I feel like this is the perfect window to fly anywhere, because most people are not flying, so you're less exposed, particularly when you know get in a plane or you fly commercial. But what she's worried about, and some of what I'm worried about, is once I get there, obviously because I don't live there permanently, I would have to get out, get normal essentials, you know, to live, to eat, all of that, and that will make me come in contact with people. So, but I would love to be in LA right now. But moving forward, the plan is if things don't suppress this month, the plan is perhaps in May, I will go out there and see what's going on. But again, I'm back and forth. And also, I do want to say that I don't want to come off as insensitive when I'm complaining about the situation, because since this whole thing has been happening, there are families out there who have either lost their jobs or their wages have been cut, or they're struggling just to, you know, put a roof over their heads or eat 3 meals a day. And there's some families or some people in more dire situations fighting for their lives, you know, at the hospital. So I don't want to sound insensitive, because the issues that I have, it's more of a convenience issue compared to this. So, and when I look at that compared to what I'm complaining about, it's very minute. And so, and the more reasons why we should keep those families in prayers and remember them. So I try to look from that, from those lenses, and not be like, man, I should, you know, things should be happening, I should be building this plane. So I just want to put that out there, so because I don't want to come off as insensitive to those who are in much more dire situation than I'm in. So hey, Travella, thank you so much for that. So again, the plans moving forward is May. We're gonna shoot for May and see what's happening with the shelter laws and what's happening with the virus spread also. So that will determine if I get to fly out or not. And then, because so we have to complete the plane first, but then I have to get what's the word I'm looking for? I have to get tested in the plane, so to speak. So whenever you build an airplane, it goes through a test phase also, where the plane has to fly for 40 hours, but also you as the pilot or as the owner who's going to be flying the airplane in the long run, you have to be familiarized with the plane. So you have to sort of go through a training phase with the airplane. So all of these things we had already planned ahead and said May, June, all these things are going to happen. But looking at, you know, things haven't been put on hold, it might take longer, but I honestly don't know. So we're almost at the end here, so I'm gonna answer some more questions. Scrolling up. Jerome, if I found a used DA40 with glass for less than an IFR Sling, which would you? I would still choose the Sling. Honestly, I would still choose the Sling, partly because I think when you think about any airplane you buy, you also have to think about the ownership costs. And that's part of what I want to talk about in future videos and make and talk to more pilots. So we've reviewed some pilot owner airplanes on the channel where, you know, say you buy an airplane right now for $30,000, and I probably should put out more videos on some airplanes that cost that low. When you buy an airplane for $30,000 and within 2 years of ownership, it's cost you $30,000 to fly it. You know, so that's what you have to think about when you're buying an airplane. There's the capital cost to acquire the plane, but then there's also the maintenance. Maintenance can be really bad or can be almost nothing. I know of people who, you know, they spent maybe $30,000-$40,000 on their plane, and their annual is less than $3,000 every year. That's decent. That's really good. But oftentimes, older planes cost you more in maintenance. And one of the benefits of having a fairly used or a new plane that you build yourself is maintenance. Other than your annual, which is like preventative stuff, you don't have anything that's just gonna jump out on you. So for the most part, your yearly or annual cost is very minimal because you're not expecting something brand new to just go bad. So Jerome, I would still choose the Sling TSI if I had the option. Hey, Marcus Floyd, thank you, man. Thank you for watching, and I do hope you get that license. Alan asked, have you thought about flying on and off of water? I'm not sure. I mean, be specific. Are you talking about flying an amphibian or flying a normal, a standard single engine over water? If you can be more specific. Hey, Matt from France. Appreciate you joining. I do plan to come down to Europe. I know I've been saying that for so long because I get invited to different things in Europe, but I need to go down there. Now, flying the Sling TSI there, I'm not sure. I'm most likely gonna fly commercial, but I do plan to come down to Europe at some point. Hopefully even within the next year. Hey, Brian. Brian is 10 hours into his private pilot license training. You're asking if you should buy a plane now or after your license. Look, something I've said oftentimes before is that if you can afford to buy and train in your own airplane, I actually think that it's more cost effective. It's a lot more cost effective. The reason I say that is, at Brian, and you can jump in here. For when I think of my experience going through my flight training and with the flight schools, there are just different factors that plays into your training that you don't anticipate. As a matter of fact, I have a friend right now who is just starting his training to get his private pilot license, and you get excited in the beginning, and then you start it, and then you see some of the mess that you have to deal with when it comes to scheduling the plane, or dealing with the flight schools with airplane down for maintenance, or the flight school holding your hands to fire saying you have to fly even maybe when the weather is not as good. But my point is, when you have your own airplane and hopefully you're able to find a good CFI to train you, the process goes a lot quicker. It goes with a lot less setbacks and a lot less uncontrollables, I call them, things that you really have no control over. It just, to me, it's a lot more efficient. That's why I said if I had to do my training over, because I spent too much money on my training, if I had a do-over, I would probably buy a cheap airplane and just train in my own airplane and build hours. So Brian, my answer to that question is if you can afford it, I would say buy something cheap. Now, obviously, you do have to calculate all of the cost of ownership and make sure that it makes sense. But I think in the long run, it's much more cost effective, especially if time is an issue for you. You will get done quicker, sooner, and still have your plane. That's the beautiful thing, compared to someone like me that I spent almost 30 grand on my training and I still don't have a plane, and it took 15 months for me to get done. So that's my opinion on that. Hey, Juan Lopez, uh, you're asking if the Sling would be a perfect or good choice. Yes, absolutely. Um, if your kids are young and it's only four of you in your family, it's a perfect airplane. The first one of the videos we did on the channel where we flew the Sling, we flew from Torrance all the way to Big Bear, where the density altitude there, it's insane, and we were fully loaded, so three full adults, uh, and we packed it up. So, and that plane still performed as it was supposed to, better than it was supposed to. So if you are considering the Sling TSI as a family airplane for four people, I would say go for it. I would, I mean, it's a no-brainer, and I don't think you have any other better choice out there. So Pilot Pigo, did I fly in the experimental helicopter that I featured? No. So actually, this is a good time to answer that. I know a lot of people were disappointed with the A600 helicopter, that we didn't get to fly it, and I tried to explain in the comment section. So that helicopter just literally was just built. Okay, the owner just finished, David, he just finished building it, and it was shortly after that we featured it on the channel. But in order for us to be able to take it off the ground, it needed to be registered and certified. So if we had just flown it, it would be breaking the rules, and that would be illegal or breaking the law. So that's why I haven't flown it yet. But because everyone has been asking about it, once this whole mess dies down, we're gonna fly the helicopter and you guys get to see how it performs. John, Mike, can you talk about the difference between the Sling? I've made two videos about the Sling TSI and the RV10. Now, I've been tempted to make more videos because I feel like the TSI and the RV10 to me are, now some people would say, oh, they're in different class, but no, they're not. They're literally in direct competition with each other. If you were building either plane, you're spending roughly the same amount of money, and depending on how you compare the flying characteristics, the economical factor, what else can I compare about them? Excuse me, the performance, cost of ownership. These are solid factors for you to compare. Now, I stopped making more comparison videos. What I plan to do is, once my plane is done, I want to do a real live comparison, which is real head to head, where we'll have several points that we want to compare, and then we'll fly both airplanes either side to side or one at a time, and we'll compare just how well they perform or how bad one performs compared to the other. So I will do more comparison in the future. It would take forever for me to just list everything that are different, and because RV10 was an airplane that I considered building too, but I went for the TSI for my own reasons. Okay, I'm gonna run through this. 8 months, you want to consider. TJ Flynn, can you talk more about this? So the Build Assist program, again, this is really for anyone who wants to, who's interested in going through a build assist. So TJ is asking if I started with a quick build, and it says, what is the cost difference between the quick build and assisted build? That's actually a great question. That's a great question. So with any kit that you buy, if you're building an airplane and it comes with the build assist, a lot of kits also have what's called a quick build kit. And what a quick build is, it basically saves you time. So say for example, remember I gave the example of the vertical stabilizer. For me, it took me 8 to 10 hours, and that's with the help of other people helping me out with it. And it took 8 to 10 hours just to have that one section of the plane. With a quick build kit, something like that would have been done already. So what happens is the factory would have put together some of these parts that could take hours to put together yourself, and they ship it to you already completed. And then once you get it, you just kind of, construct everything else together. So that's what a quick build is. And from what I understand, the price for the TSI quick build, I think, is 20 to 25,000. Now compared to the build assist, you will find anywhere from 50 grand and up. That's the honest truth, depending on the facility that you use. And I told you, when I was shopping around, I was quoted up to $80,000. And if you were building a more complex airplane, the cost might be more. So, and I know of some shops that would even give you a better deal. So some shops that are starting out, I know the build facility in New York. If you just talk to them, talk to Doug. He's just starting out, and he's given, someone I talked to recently gave me some numbers that are very, very attractive. So you can find it less than $50,000. So the cost difference would be anywhere between 10 to 25 or 30 grand. That's what I think. And the second part is, my kit was a standard kit. It wasn't a quick build kit. So everything was standard. We had to build everything from fresh. And again, for me, it was either or, and I prefer to use the build assist, partly because I've never done this before, and I'm gonna be flying with my family and friends in this plane, so the build assist made a lot more sense. So I hope that answers the question. And fly the Bushcat. David, I have not gotten a chance to fly the Bushcat yet, but we can make that happen in the future. Mike Alpha, yes, I've calculated how much my operate. So Mike Alpha is asking if I've calculated how much it will cost me per year to fly a Sling TSI. I did. So I have, but ultimately I think I have some numbers already, and I didn't want to make the numbers public yet because I want to wait till the plane gets done and actually see what the actual cost will be. But on average, you're spending less than $100, like just your fuel alone. If you're consuming 8 gallons of fuel per hour, right now fuel cost is so low, it's ridiculous. But I imagine on a normal, standard, economy where we're not going through a pandemic, the average cost of aviation fuel in the state of Georgia is about $5 to $6 per gallon. So you're spending roughly 40 to 50 bucks an hour on fuel, which is going to be most of your costs for operating the airplane. And then when you consider hangar space, insurance, annual, and just like preventative maintenance stuff, you're going to be spending a few $1,000s every year. But I don't want to put any numbers out there until I get hands-on and I see what the actual numbers are. Boom, boom. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up because it's coming up to an hour. And I'm sorry I didn't get to answer a lot of the training questions. I still have them here, and I think maybe we'll make another video or live video where we talk about flight training for the most part. And I think it's important because it's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I was so excited about flying that I wanted anybody else who's ever thought about flying to take to the skies. But I would say if you're currently a student pilot or you're looking to start training, you can always send me a message on Instagram. But more importantly, you guys know that I work together with the Sling Pilot Academy, and those guys can answer your questions all day, every day, because they're CFIs. They train students all day. And also, I think they have one of the best programs in the country if you wanted to go all the way from zero to become an airline pilot. And actually, I know that they're having a live video, a live stream today. I don't know if it started already or it starts at 6 p.m. So in 5 minutes. So a lot of you watching this stream, if you're interested in learning more about flight training and you have questions, I would check out Sling Pilot Academy, their channel on YouTube and on Facebook. They're going to be doing a live stream and answering some of these questions for you guys. So, but I will look through the last set of stuff I have here. Stefan, I need to be in Torrance a week ago. But honestly, I don't know when I'm going to be back. It all depends on what happens with the spread of the virus and if some of the laws become more lenient and people can come out. Obviously, like for me, I'm thinking of my kid. You know, I have a 5-month-old and I don't want to be stupid to go expose myself because I'm trying to get something done. So I'm hoping that within the next month, I'm able to make my way out to California and just stay out there and build. But if you shoot me an email, I can let you know specifically, you know, whenever that time comes. All right, guys, if there's no more question, Big Joe says they need Sling Pilot Academy. Yes, they do. Believe it or not, I've been talking to them about it, and maybe we will get one soon. Who knows? But guys, please keep safe. I know it's a little crazy what's going on, but please keep safe. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to MojoGrip. And also, YouTube tells me that only 10% of you have the notification bell turned on. So when I look at the analytics for the videos, I'm seeing that only 10% of my subscribers actually watch the videos, which tells me that a lot of people don't have the notification bell on, so you're not notified when a new video comes up. So please, if you are a subscriber or if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell on. Also, if you are not yet an MVP member, a great way to support the channel, you can become an MVP member. Starts at $5 a month, or you can support on Patreon, and that starts at $1 a month. But everyone who is a paid member, I greatly appreciate it. And I try, even now, once I'm done with this video, I'm gonna get on the computer and edit some more stuff that are exclusive to, you know, Patreon members and also MVP members. But thank you guys so much. And if there's no more questions for me, I'm gonna head out. And guys, make sure you check out the Sling Pilot Academy live stream. They're probably on right now. They're gonna be on at 6. All right. Any more questions, just leave in the comments or shoot me a message, and I'm gonna try to answer them as best as I can. All right, guys, stay safe, and I will catch you on the next video, which drops tomorrow evening. All right, take care. Bye.